There are not a lot of big names available at the moment with regards to maybe coming in at United. The one name that keeps being brought up is Zinedine Zidane. Where do you stand on this? Does this fit United at all, Zidane? And does, United fit Zidane? Does that make sense?
No. I mean, I must admit, I don't fully see the logic behind this, except for one very basic thing. It's Zidane. It's Zidane. It's a very big name. It's a guy who's won the last 3 Champions Leagues. I think we've seen, on this point at least, I think that it's probably fair to support Mourinho up to a point in that we've seen that at institutional level, in terms of some of the decisions that Ed Woodward's made, in terms of some of the decisions that have been made that are out of Mourinho's hands, some of those are baffling, and that then leads into this in that you can see this Manchester United in this institutional state turning to Zidane, not necessarily thinking about how well he fits, how well he can engage with the players, what kind of response he can get, but, oh, it's Zinedine Zidane. And so while on the face of it, this isn't something that completely wins me over, and for what it's worth, I also think that he wants a year out, but, if United...
So why is there no logic, Sid? Why is there no logic?
So on the face of it, I don't see it.
Why is there no logic? No logic for who? No logic for Zidane or no logic for United?
I don't see... Yeah, I don't see the logic of a manager that doesn't speak English. I don't see the logic of a manager with no real connection to Manchester United. No, that's not in itself absolutely decisive. I don't necessarily see the logic of a manager of the characteristics that Zidane has had in this Manchester United team. I mean, Zidane inherited a far more talented squad of players at Real Madrid than he would get at Manchester United. So there's bits of it that don't fit for me. But as I say, with this United, I can sort of believe it. I can believe that they would think, oh, big name, that'll do. And it does sometimes feel like that is all they are driven by, that there's very little thought gone into a lot of what Woodward seems to be doing.
This goes back to some of the things we talked about probably a couple of months ago with Zidane. And Sid touched on it there. He's got all these trophies, but he inherited a very good team. OK, it was having a downturn with Benitez in charge. And then he was hugely successful, particularly in Europe. But, you're laying... If United do go down a different line, different route in a few months or whatever it is, are we saying that job wouldn't interest any of the top guys? It's one of the biggest clubs in the world. And by the way, you would be putting it on the line, taking this United job, because you're now fighting Liverpool, you're now fighting Man City, who look great, you're probably fighting Chelsea, Tottenham. It would be a real test. And one in which a very much more experienced manager than Zinedine Zidane is struggling. Yeah. Or is struggling to win the fans over at the moment and beat Man City. So he would be laying it on the line, and he either wants a challenge, some of these managers want a challenge, or they don't.
Back-to-back victories, of course, in the post-Ronaldo era.
Back to producing the show, I see.
There you go. They're looking brilliant, aren't they? Let's welcome in Sid Lowe, shall we, from Spain, to talk about this. Sid, obviously massive speculation, a lot of talk about what difference there would be this season compared to last with Ronaldo and indeed Zidane leaving. What's it been like?
Well, as we talked about in the build-up to this, all this talk about who's going to get the 50 goals that Cristiano Ronaldo scored each season, well, part of the answer then was that no one necessarily needs to get it on their own. And what we're seeing and what Lopetegui has talked about is a model, an approach that looks a little bit more collective. Now, obviously, look, it's only a couple of games and we have to give this time, but I think we're seeing Karim Benzema become something closer to a number 9 than he's been in the past, when in the past he's largely been a facilitator for Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, we have the question marks over his fitness, but I think we're seeing Gareth Bale take on greater responsibility. I think we're seeing him emotionally and kind of psychologically, I think, possibly take more on. I think we'll see better performances from him. Of course, we're seeing Asensio play with more regularity. All of this is so far, and I'm reluctant to get too carried away after only a couple of games. But I think fundamentally what we've seen is a team that wants the ball a little bit more, presses a little bit high, and has a slightly more collective outlook to the way they play, I think.
Boys, you take a look at it, and Ronaldo obviously out of the equation. In some way, does this give the players on the pitch a little more freedom then?
I think it looks to me as though his shadow's gone. Whether it was putting the ball in the back of the net, or whether it was being in the middle or on the periphery, complaining with his hands sprayed, and this look on his face that he didn't get the ball or he didn't score the goal, all of that seems to have washed away. It looks like the collective is probably the best word to use. They all look as though they're in it together and all they want to do is be together.
I like that. Ronaldo's shadow has
Well,
gone.
you just like anything Real Madrid.
No, I
First day back, we'll lead with Real Madrid and Sid's back on. I love Sid being on, but it's no coincidence that you're back producing the show. As per usual, Sid, look, that's what he does.
Just
Listen,
because we're not starting about with Mourinho.
I don't want to start with Mourinho. I've had enough with Mourinho. Well, he did manage Real Madrid. I go back to Sid's point. Having watched him in pre-season, and I know it was pre-season ICC Cup, I thought Karim Benzema in particular, Sid mentioned Bale's fitness. I thought he looked a lot fitter. I thought he looked, just to my eyes, looked a little bit lighter. And as if he was more interested, because he's often given an impression, Benzema, during games. It's maybe just an impression that he loses a little bit of interest. But watched him in pre-season, and he was working hard, he was linking up, he was running the channels, he was making some good moves, and it allowed Bale to get into space. So it is early days. And the proof will be in the pudding regarding the amount of goals that are missing from Ronaldo. But it's been a positive start, and let's be honest, Lopetegui could ill afford to have a negative start.
Look, I don't think it's any coincidence that these players are looking as good as they are. Yes, Ronaldo's gone, and now all of a sudden they're allowed to be the players that they were brought to be. Galacticos is nothing new to Real Madrid. I think when you have a presence like Cristiano Ronaldo and you have these incredible talents all feeding into him, as good a player as he is, it takes something away from them. And not
Real Madrid confirmed the new signing today. It was something you talked about just yesterday. Mariano making that switch from Lyon to Real Madrid. It was a switch, of course, he made just last season for $8 million. It's now cost Real Madrid $33 million. Sid, how excited should Real Madrid fans be about this latest addition?
Well, I don't think hugely excited as such, but I think most Real Madrid fans will think that this is a good signing. That's $33 million, by the way. You have to take off, I think it's 35%, which Real Madrid owned. In other words, the fee was $33 million, but they don't pay all of it because they would effectively be paying it to themselves. So I think it works out around about 22, 23 in total for Real Madrid, which obviously is still a big increase on what they got last year. There's been suggestions, obviously, of an interest in Rodrigo, even an interest in Iago Aspas, but basically what Lopetegui has been saying to the club is that, yes, I'm happy with what I've got in terms of my starting 11, but there's not a huge amount of backup, so we need a striker. We need someone who can come in when we want that player, when perhaps there's injuries or suspensions, or even just to rotate through the forward line. And Mariano, I think maybe a year ago, people wouldn't have thought this because there were some signs that he was a very good player at Real Madrid, but it's obviously taken this one season in France with Lyon for him to really prove himself to be a very, very good striker indeed. And I think in that sense, of course, there are some people saying, well, this doesn't look like great business because it's a big leap in price between last year and this year. But obviously the market has expanded again since then. He's effectively a club product coming back. As I think most people think this is a good squad player. No one, I don't think at this stage is looking at him and thinking this is the guy that's going to lead us throughout the season.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Extra Time. Should the elites in Europe worry about Manchester United if they were to draw them in the Champions League?
given what we've seen so far, no.
No. You wouldn't mind, would you?
I'll take him right now.
All right, Shaq.
Give me a reason why they should.
Is there Manchester United and the allure of Old Trafford, the intimidation factor?
Yeah, really hit home against Spurs, didn't it? They were absolutely scared stiff.
Right, they didn't seem to be, did they? I think they lost. You want to say anything in this? No. Hi, guys. How much time should a player or manager be given after joining a club? Some need time, others flourish at the start and fade later. Should we give them time? Well, there's a lot of time in that tweet.
Yes.
Young players get more time.
Young players?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if a young player comes into a club, he gets a little bit more time to settle in. Older, more established players, you're expected to hit the ground running.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Very animated. I agree.
Finally, what did you make of Bastian Schweinsteiger's testimonial match when he played for both Bayern and Chicago Fire?
No idea, I didn't see it. Why would I watch that?
That's what normal people do. They have a testimonial. You play for both sides.
Did you have a testimonial, Steve?
Yes, I played for both sides.
Who did you play?
I played for...
Is that why you were so quick to say that's what normal people do?
Yeah, well, I'm very normal, aren't I? I consider myself a normal person.
Who was your testimonial?
Against a Great Britain select.
Oh.
Is that allowed?
I don't know, I never asked.
This is,
I should have consulted the Players' Union.
Who organised it all?
Should have.
I can't imagine you did.
No, of course I didn't. I was lucky. I just have to make sure I turned up on the day.
So, did Liverpool do everything?
No, he did. So he gave his number.
You
People
get a
were phoning his
committee.
home and said, "Can I have 4 tickets?"
Yeah.
He's gone, yeah. He'd like,
You put together a committee and they organise it.
How did you get a committee together?
Well, just people you know, people who want to help, people that actually know what they're doing, business people that can actually put something like that together.
Wow.
That's what you do. Because if it had been left to me, it'd have been a complete shambles.
I don't think that's a... I don't think you have to tell anybody that. I think they just automatically assumed that would be the case.
So, who was on your team?
A lot of people.
Oh, the Liverpool players.
Liverpool players.
Who was on the Great Britain team?
Who was on Great Britain team?
Ish, just give us
Steve Bruce.
Oh.
Shaka's mate, Dwight York played.
Oh.
Richard Goff. Maurice Johnston. And by the way, here's the one thing people... You know what you get for free these days? Nothing. So it's a very important thing, right, that it was for free. Okay, how's that?
Did you get paid?
You weren't there. Did you get paid to sit at home and watch it?
Check's in the post. My check was in the post.
Actually,
Well, that's checked.
a little side note.
There's more.
My testimonial was the very first testimonial ever to be beamed live
Around the world.
on Sky Sports. And guess who the commentator was?
John Champion.
Ian Dark.
Oh,
Did he get paid?
good question.
I would assume he did,
So all those
as
new
part of his contract.
all those new fans in Asia wouldn't have seen it. All those new fans,
All those new fans.
new fans that you talked about. That's Asia.
And you guys weren't at a club long enough, no?
I got offered a testimonial at Chelsea,
Did you?
and
How does it work? How long do you have to be, or is
10
it just
years.
right?
So I left there when I was 3 months short of 10 years when I left.
Right.
So I never signed a new contract.
Okay.
It was part of the contract. But back in the day, I mean, getting enough people with some testimonials to pay the police was difficult enough. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
It was.
With Kerry Dixon, who was an England international and was a legend at
Chelsea,
Chelsea, sometimes if it's not organised properly or the weather's bad, I mean, seriously, things like that. And John Bumstead, who was at Chelsea for years and years, I think got 3,000 when they played the Spanish team, and I think he had to give the police money. You know, you got to pay the.
I played in Graham Sharp's testimonial at
Yeah,
Goodison.
Everton, yeah.
Yeah. And I swear, I'm going to say there was 200 people there.
Okay. Did you get paid for that?
It was stupid, Daniel.
I'm sure they'd be more that
and-
for Sharpie.
No, the weather was absolutely horrendous. It was howling down the whole time. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he probably had to pay the police and stuff
So I-
because
I
they
didn't-
come anyway.
I didn't factor that into it. It wasn't really.
Right.
Wasn't an appetizer to signing a contract, to be honest. If you could fill a stadium out, if you can get some of those that have had at Old Trafford and
Yeah.
at Celtic as well, a lot of the big not so much now because the players earn so much money, but a lot of the big testimonials at Celtic for some of the big guys from years ago, it was sold out.
Oh, so
Sold out.
I tried to get Celtic All Rangers,
Yeah.
and Celtic were charging £50,000 at the time.
Right.
But they would have brought.
Plus expenses.
But they would have brought
But
10,000 potentially.
But you're assuming that they'll bring 10,000, which will cover that outlay.
There you go. You've learned something.
I have. Yep. Everyone played for free. ESPN FC is back tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Champions League draw.
It would break.
Once you hit me,
Aye.
you've got the big hands.
Aye, well.
Well, it's all that. He's been on the lawnmower.
After 15 years of professional football, Clint Dempsey is calling it a day, or a career, really and truly. Stevie Nicol is here with me. Stevie knows a thing or two about Clint Dempsey. Stevie, just what kind of legacy is he leaving behind, and what kind of player will the U.S. and Seattle now be missing?
I think the most important legacy is that, you know, young American players can start here and go and play in the biggest leagues in Europe and be a star. Because that's what Clint Dempsey was and is. And it's all about goal scoring. You know, we're not talking about a guy that went somewhere and was a defensive midfielder or was a winger. This guy scored goals. This guy lived to score goals. So you put those two things together, that's a huge benchmark for all American players to try and achieve.
And in terms of all those American players, where would he rank for you?
Arguably the best.
Of all time?
Arguably the best of all time, yeah. Name me somebody else who has gone and played in arguably the best league in the world and become a star and become the main player in his team, which he was at Fulham for a couple of seasons. Name me another American who's done that. I don't think you can. He's
a special one.
Absolutely.
I was going to try throwing Brian McBride, but that's for another story. That's just because Brian's our good friend. Thanks so much there to Stevie Nicol. Well, definitely it is, and it has been quite the career for Clint Dempsey.
I'm going to say that was after a win. He had far too the side of his mouth and his eyes.
Oh, we're getting specific now.
When you lose, you're angry. He didn't look like an angry man to me.
Can you guess who he came against, that win?
Arsenal?
Nope.
Nope.
It was in the Champions League.
No.
2-0 win over Benfica.
I was correct, though. It was a win.
You were correct indeed. It was a win.
1-1.
Moving on now. Let's go to the second one.
I didn't do my job well to prepare the players for the game. Maybe I should bring more tension to the dynamic that prepares the game. But the players, they have to improve. I have to improve, and I'm sorry to say that. I think the fans, they have also to improve.
I would say it has loss written all over it, but this is obviously not straightforward because I know you're going to fling a few dodgy ones in.
Me?
Yes.
So you're going for
I'm going to say it's a win.
You're right. It's a win. It was after Man United's 2-0 win over Hull City. But, of course, Jose says everyone needed to improve after that. Let's go to the next one.
We had more power. We were the best team. We could score lots of goals in the first match. And today, as I was saying, the game was under control. So we deserve to be in the final. So I congratulate my players, and I don't want to analyze the performance too much.
Well, the background.
Hold on a second. He's just congratulating his players. They're in a final, so I'm assuming it's a win.
No, that's a loss.
So what's he talking about?
That's
then?
a loss. That was after Hull City beat Manchester United in the League Cup semi-final 2-1. He said they deserved to be in the final, but clearly they were not. Let's go on to the next one.
If I'm going to speak about the referee, you are going to jump, especially you, because you are one of the guys that is not too honest in your approach. If I'm going to be critical with the referee, people will say, what are you doing?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go for another loss.
You're right. That came after Manchester United lost 4-0 to Chelsea, his former team, so I'm sure that stung deeply. Now let's go to the last one.
I never speak about injuries. Other managers, they cry when some player is injured. I don't cry. I think the way to do it is to ignore the players that are injured, is to focus on the players that are available, is to give confidence on the players that are available. But if I want to moan and cry like the others, I can cry for the next 5 minutes.
That's a win.
That's a win.
That's a win.
That's a win. You're right, Stevie Nichols. You got 2 out of 5.
What do you mean I got 2? I got 1 wrong out of 5.
Yep. All right, fine. That's true.
Something wrong with your account? Maybe there's something wrong with my ears. Otherwise, I would have had 5 out of 5.
Otherwise, you would have had 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But Jose Mourinho and his mind games.
Yeah. No, the guy's not right.
He's not right.
He's not right.
Things are not going right at Manchester United, but
You think?
I'm still thinking he can turn it around. But he may not be everyone's favorite right now, but
it's not happening.
he is definitely our favorite in front of the microphone.